All right. We think we're back. Sorry, we had a little weird launch. There was some internet lag. Something weird happened, but we're back. Thanks for coming back. It's Tuesday night, as I say most Tuesdays when I remember to. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, welcome back to What's That Noise? How's everyone doing?
I forget about that.
Never
one.
gets old.
Yeah, you know, I try to come with those good one-liners. How you guys doing? What's up?
Feeling good, man.
Back
Yeah,
in the
man.
studio Tuesday.
Good to be back.
Been a busy weekend, busy week.
Was a busy weekend. Speaking of Fuzzrd, who, we've got Brett from Fuzzrd on the show in a little bit. Fuzzrd was down in Iowa at Catamount recording. Brad went with, actually, road trip. We mixed a song down there on a SSL console, old school. No plugins, not a lot of computer time, just a big desk and a big rack of outboard, and it was really fun, man. It's kind of a challenging thing as a mixer to drop into a brand new studio you've never been at. Kind of just, new control room, different sounding room than you've heard. 3 sets of speakers there, all of which I was unfamiliar with. I've seen them around, but I haven't used them, So it's kind of challenging, but we got a good mix done, and we did it quick, and we drove back, and I don't know. I think we had a good time down there. I had a good time doing it. It was an interesting experiment. It's so many people, like the people that watch this show, are people that work in their kind of home every day or whatever. I work in my home every day. So to go mix, it's not like tracking. It's like you go mix a song in a brand new studio.
Right.
Kind of weird. It's like driving someone else's car for the day. Like, you don't want to scratch anything.
But you kind of want to give it
You kind of
hell.
want to give it a little pedal and see what it can do. And I definitely was, I don't forget, it was Rob or someone was in the room, and I was like, I wonder if the assistant's freaking out right now, because, I had the mains on. I got the big soffit mains up. I had them on pretty loud. I'm like, I wonder if anyone else comes in here and, fucking cranks it up,
And Brett and I were out with him in the lobby, and he was like, sounds good through the wall.
Yeah, Joe and I worked on a track the day before and the day after that session. That's coming together really nicely. We're, I don't know, probably 70% done minus vocals, but songs coming together. It's pretty rocking. We'll tell you more about that whenever Joe wants to. It's kind of Joe's pet project, right? So
Yeah, when it's ready, I think we should bring it up. We can do a little breakdown or something. It'll be cool.
Right, yeah. So we'll get into that when the time is right. But yeah, we've been working around here. Mixing is good. Recording is good. I've been mixing some reggae. I got to get up early tomorrow and mix another reggae tune real quick. But yeah, tonight, before we jump into the Fuzzrd thing, we'll stick to our normal schedule, and Brad will hit us with a little weekly news, whatever he's got cooked up since last Tuesday. Oh, sorry, Joe. I didn't. Yeah. Joe's working the switchboard, the camera. He's doing the thing, but
He's earning his paycheck.
News? It's Mr. Brad Gunnarsson. You know him. You love him. You wait for days and days to hear what news he's got cooked up on a Tuesday.
Approximately 7.
Yep. and here he is. So what do you got? What's that news, Brad? No big bass lick tonight. We got the session up. I didn't set up a bass channel to play the intro for Brad, but we're working on that. But yeah,
A few extra times next week, maybe, just to make up for it.
I'll loop it up a couple times next week for you.
We've got guests tonight, so I'm going to fly through everything I've got here.
Yeah, hurry up, man. No one gives a shit.
I know, right? All right, cool. That's it. So, new releases from last week. Juliana Hatfield, Blood, came out, and I just listened to that record today. Really cool.
Sick.
Some friends of mine in a band called Salt Creek from Lincoln, Nebraska, released an EP called Our Own World. They actually just signed to Tooth and Nail Records, and it's their first release on that label. Full length will be coming out later this year. A couple of interesting things in that album sales world. Van Weezer, top-selling album, top-selling vinyl last week.
Really?
Not sure how I feel about the record, but I get it.
Butch Walker produced that record?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure he did, yep.
My Chemical Romance, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, re-enters the Billboard Top 200. That record came out in 2004, so that was an interesting one to see on there.
Why? Because tour announcements
stuff? I think maybe the Riot Fest thing.
Okay.
And all their tour stuff got pushed back to next year again.
Right.
But I think that certainly every week. Interesting number just popped up for The #1 streamed artist in hard rock last week, Queen, 26.1 million streams.
Wow.
Just crazy. Bunch of tours happening. The Hella Mega Tour with Green Day, Weezer, Fall Out Boy, and our friends the Interrupters.
When is that happening? This year?
It's happening this year in the late summer.
It feels like the machine is turning on.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Dashboard Confessional announced a full-on acoustic tour, like full U.S., pretty much everywhere except to my and Joe's dismay, not
Road
Minneapolis.
Trip, dude. Road trip. Dispensary stop.
The Juliana Theory in May announced some dates together. Juliana Theory is going to play Emotion is Dead in its entirety, and May is going to play The Everglow in its entirety on those dates. Some album anniversaries. Piebald, All Ears, All Eyes, All the Time turned 17. AFI Black Sails in the Sunset turned 22. Coalesce, There's Nothing New Under the Sun, which is one of the heaviest bands the Midwest has ever seen playing Led Zeppelin covers. That also turned 22. Asian Man Records turns 25 years old today, home to Alkaline Trio, Joyce Manor, Smoking Popes, Pet Symmetry, the Lawrence Arms, and many more bands that the three of us enjoy. And an interesting one for our special guest, the Vinnie Vincent Invasion record, All Systems Go, turned 33. Featuring Mark Slaughter on vocals.
Yeah.
2 more pieces of news. Apple announced HD streaming, and Amazon is going to compete with them by dropping the price of theirs to match Apple's to get people to switch. And and Spotify is going to, they're expected to announce HD streaming later this year. So, Joe, they're all trying to compete with your favorite subscription service title. Last thing I've got, Paramore did a charity shirt for a Nashville venue called Exit In, which is near and dear to them.
Love that place.
So it's a T-shirt that says "Tiny Hot Topic Bitch" on it, and they were going to put it up in Hot Topic said, "Let's do this together."
Brad's wondering if he can pull it off.
Yeah. Shirt went up for sale on HotTopic.com, crashed the website. They got it back up, and it raised $45,000 for that venue.
Wow.
So that's what I got this week.
Nice. Boom, doo 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 doo. All right. Yeah, thanks, Brad. Good What's That News. We've been talking about it for weeks. We keep forgetting to do it, so I'm launching right into it because it's a good week to do it. I've been talking about doing like cool gear pick of the week, whether it's studio gear or like an instrument or microphone, compressor, something someone wants to know about. We're going to start picking out a piece of gear a week, but this is the newest piece of gear that landed here at my spot. So I figured we'd talk about this tonight. I've been on the hunt for a good Les Paul standard for the studio for quite a while. You have to have one. It's one of the most iconic sounds. I've got some other Gibson guitars with humbuckers, but I did not have just a proper standard Les Paul. And then this guy showed up. So 2011, custom color, Pelham Blue, 57, so R7 reissue. Found it used in town. Super killer. Sounds great. Huge neck. Biggest Les Paul neck. I don't know. I felt other than a real 50s one. And it might even be bigger than that. It seems like they're going for it. But anyway, awesome. So stoked to have it. Cool gear pick of the week. Like I said, in the future, I think we'll figure out we'll let you guys pick some categories if you want to hear about instruments, if you want to hear about rack gear or just, the stuff that's around here. But gotta have a great Les Paul in the studio, and thought this was a cool one. The hunt is over now. Now there's something else to find, but this one's here, so that's what's important this week.
Love that guitar.
Gotta just get it home. All right, got that done. Figured out how to buy that. Woo!
Yeah.
Next. Yeah, right.
I'll just throw it out for the people out there. The stream looks like it's a little choppy. I think we're putting a little strain on the network, so we're hanging on right now. But
we're crashing the internet because we just, it's how we do it. But yeah, so anyway, that's the catch up. This week is all about our friends in Fuzzrd, who we've talked about before. You guys have met Brett before. We're gonna have Brett back in here tonight, plus a guest, our buddy Mark Slaughter, who contributed quite a bit to this tune, has been kind enough to join us as well. So We're gonna talk about the track, talk about Fuzzrd. We can go inside of this track and solo up stuff. Or if anyone has questions, you know how we do it. We can go in under the hood and we can talk to the guys, do the thing and hang out. This song does have a video that hit the internet fairly recently, so I'm thinking if we can, Joe, roll the video, and then after the video, if you guys in the Fuzzrd land and Mark and Brett, if you're ready after the video, we'll bring you guys in and start chopping it up.
Here we go.
What do you Rocking, as always. They're bringing the rock back, man. Big rock's coming back. We talk about it all the time. Hey, Brett, can you hear me right now? I'm going to get these guys on the stream as soon as I confirm that they.
There it is.
Yeah? Brett, you got me? All right, cool. You guys ready to rock and roll? We'll bring you in here, talk about this track. Yep. All right, cool. All right, so we are now joined by Brett Petrusek and Mark Slaughter. What's up, dudes?
How's it going, man?
Great, man. hanging out in the studio. Looks like we're all kind of hanging out in our home studios.
That's what we do. This is
what we
it,
do.
man. This is where the big boys play right here.
Right. How you been, man? What's new in your world when you're not in your studio? What are you doing? And then what are you doing when you are in your studio? What are you up to?
I write. I'm always working in here. We just released. Slaughter just re-released one of our records on vinyl on a limited basis.
Cool.
There's like 500 copies. It's like a really cool thing. We found some demos that we did back in the day and on DAT, and we just put it all, and we're going to press it all on vinyl and just do just like one super time capsule that we're putting out there. So we just put that on sale this weekend. It's almost sold out. So
Nice,
pretty cool
man.
stuff. Just, enjoying, kind of going back with the COVID time. We went through a lot of our the stuff that's just sitting around or in boxes or out in barns and plastic bins, etc. And
Right.
just, enjoying
Cool
life.
too, man. Like it's like a return to like the early days too, right? Of like putting this little thing together and pressing up 500,
Right.
and it's special. It's like I think it's fun, man. Yeah, I love that stuff. We just put out a cassette.
It's just like when you went and did that stuff down at the studio with the SSL. I mean, for us, when we ended up usually mixing the first two records we did on SSL, and then the third record we ended up taking it onto a Neve with flying faders. So it was like a mix of the two. And but it was always a hard transition for us to get used to the sound of a SSL. Because there was that compression in the bus. It has a certain sound to it.
Totally. It's fun, man. It's like I actually am, without owning an SSL, I'm totally an SSL user. It's my go-to channel strip all the time. So
right.
I mean,
because it puts everything in a box properly. I mean, that was one of the things for, whether it was Bryan Adams or a lot of the really big records. It was usually the compressor, and that's the magic of that console more than anything. It's really
that console
that compression.
barks. Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to do it. I enjoy in the box. I'm so used to it now. I love mixing on a console.
Yeah.
It's such a more, just a funner day.
Yeah.
Because I don't know,
feels
you're standing
different.
up and bouncing around and grabbing EQs and being able to push up stuff quick. But I'm so dialed in, like in the box, that there was things that I missed for sure. Like, oh man, if I had this plug-in, I could do this parallel thing. Or it's fun.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think it proves more and more that it's all awesome, it's all valid, and it's all just whatever gets you where you want to go.
It's just a path of getting there to good music. I mean,
Right.
doing this track with Brett and Fuzzrd and you was a blast to do. It's a totally different way of doing it. And again, we had files, flying through the airways and through, the internet and that side that is
Right.
pretty crazy. The fact that we can not even be in the same room and put together a project. And,
it's insane.
it's pretty cool.
Right, yeah. You couldn't do that back in the day if everyone had to have a 2-inch and a console at their house.
That's right.
That was rare air to have a studio before before this computer thing, man, made it affordable for everyone. But, you can still spend a lot of money too. Even though it's affordable for everyone.
Trust me.
It's still a
I just
sinkhole.
blew more money on it. Every day
Right.
it seems like, hey, a new plug-in. I got to have that.
Oh, man, I know, because they're always on sale, man. They know how to get us.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So it was awesome. It was funny. We were working on this tune. We were kind of stumped on a background vocal. This is like right around the time Brett and those guys were starting to get to know you, and which I think also I think that relationship came from all being gear addicts, right? And that's kind of how you got to know Eric. And we all spend all week chasing down gear, or like Brett sends me a link to something. I'm like, oh man, have you seen this Les Paul? You have to go buy this Les Paul. And he's just like, dude, I can't.
If you're not going to buy it,
Right, I
if
can't
I'm not
afford
going to
it,
buy
so
it, you're going to buy
have to.
it.
Right, we got to figure this out, man. Yeah, we asked you to do a background vocal, and sure as shit, you were like, I'd be happy to check it out. And not only did you do a background, but as I see, you're sitting in a home studio, you got into it and did some guitars and did some keyboard
That's
stuff,
right.
and you sent a bunch of shit back our way, which was super cool, man. And we used
I
all
kept
of
saying
it.
to Brett, I hope Jeremy doesn't hate me for this, but I keep sending him files. It's like, hey, I got another idea. That's how I always produce,
Right. No, it's awesome. Right. Yeah. It's like me and Brett got together and we're like, dude, all this stuff is awesome. And there's like a lot of stuff here now. So now now choices have to be made because sometimes you got to turn some stuff off. So you
Right.
can turn it up louder.
Mute
in
is
other
your
spots.
friend, actually, but
Right.
it's good to at least have a collective, have all the colors to be able to paint the picture you're wanting to paint,
Right.
within the
Right.
context of the painting, obviously.
Right.
It's funny because it always comes back to a guitar, right? Like Mark started using a guitar for reference for like what his harmony vocal was going to be. And he'd send something my way, send something your way. And then we'd hear him, kind of articulate his vision with a guitar. And I heard the guitars and I was like, damn, those guitars sound cool. And then the guitar party just unleashed. And
He's like, oh, you like those guitars? I got a couple more guitars coming in a folder here too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man, we had fun with it. Yeah, I don't know. We definitely got, like I said, we were stoked to have a background vocal show up. And then when you started sending layers for the cake, we were like, oh shit, dude, now we got some new stuff. And then all of a sudden you guys are on the phone. And I don't know, it was just cool, man. It seemed like you got into it. I can tell you enjoy doing the thing. And it's like, cool, man.
You know what? It's for those who are creative as we are, it just gets into more of a creative mode. You just forget about all the other stuff. And it's like, what would be cool? Maybe this will work, or maybe you will like it or not like it. Again, it's their project that I was trying to add to that project, not take away from what they were doing. And that's ultimately what I kept doing. It's like, well, this might be cool if you want to try that vocal.
Right.
He's like, man, why don't you sing it? Why don't you do it? So it was different in that side because, I was just really thinking songwriter, producer more than, jumping into the track. And it just turned out to where I was like, you know what? Yeah, why not? Let's do this.
Yeah, right. The worst they can do is turn it off. Right. Right. I love it. You send a bunch of stuff and not be too like, hey man, here's a bunch of stuff. Use as much or as little as you want. Like that's
right.
That's the best way to be. We used it all,
Yeah.
and I'm sure Brett was like, sing some more stuff, dude. This is working out great. Hey, I got some rhythm tracks that you could, Right. Tell us about this tune, Brett, and tell us about kind of your perspective and how this whole thing came together and the connection with Mark and how that all worked out,
it was just a crazy deal because Mark had met Eric and they were talking about gear, and Eric told me he just gave you a bit of the tune, and I was like, how about he give him the whole song, and Mark and I wound up talking, and really it was more from the perspective of, you took notice of the band, and I think you kind of dug what you were hearing, and you were like, hey,
Right.
What are you guys doing with this? And
Where are you going with it? Yeah, where are you going
with it? What are you doing with it? What's the plan? And kind of giving your advice on best practices on things we should do to get it out there the right way, and make sure we're protected from a revenue stream perspective if it starts happening and things start going our way the right way. And really that, I think the relationship really started that way, and we were finishing up the track, and it was really, I think we always had that lead vocal kind of floats around, like the melodies move up and down quite a bit, but we never really found the right thing. Like, was it a crossing thing? Was it a low vocal? Was it, I think the thing with vocal harmonies that you always kind of try to instill, Jeremy, is that if it's not helping the lead vocal, you're just putting it on there for the sake of putting it on there. What's the point? Like we might have a track, this one Break the Line we did at Catamount Studios this weekend. There is no harmony vocal on the lead vocal on the chorus because it doesn't really make it better.
Yeah, man. Sometimes, like we talked about, like I feel like sometimes people go like, oh, well, we have to put a harmony on the chorus. That's just what you do. And it's like, yeah, it is if it's a great harmony. But if it's just there because you like are supposed to put it there and it's somehow weighing down the vocal, or like, I don't know. To me, like I said, I'm like, man, I really like your big open melody, and we just tripled it and made you sound huge. And was like, to me, this doesn't need a harmony. Like this is delivering the thing, and I don't know. I always revert back to like, I love 1,000 layers on everything, but if you can get it all done with one layer, know
Yeah,
when to
do it that
know
way.
when to fold them. You know what I mean? What connects better
Right,
than
right.
that?
If you hit it with the triple for me, I'm pretty happy too.
Yeah,
But,
Brett was like, well, as long as I'm tripled, I feel okay, right? Like, just, you can't just put one voice up the middle. Fuck that.
Well, look at all those guitars back there, man. You got to use them.
we got to have a daily double, but a triple is, that's
Brett does want just everything doubled. Everything would be better if we could just maybe double it quick. And I'm always just like, no, you know.
But that was it. You know, I was talking to Jeremy, and we were still thinking about the harmony, and it was like, bet Mark Slaughter would know what to do. So I think that was it. And
You reached out to me and said, hey, man, I don't know what you got going on. And I don't know if I'm going out, if this is out of bounds or anything, but, I got a track. Maybe you have a couple vocal ideas. I said, just send over the track and I'll hear the harmonies pretty quick. And that's when I pick up the guitar because I hear the harmonies first and foremost with my hands, than with my voice.
Right.
And so then I kept sending you, like, Brian May stepped in for a second, and it's just how I hear it, and I had a lot of training with really odd, barbershop and crazy stuff when I was a kid. So, with that, I hear, ninths and 11ths and things that people normally wouldn't put in.
I was going to ask you too, like, was that at one point a thing? Like, were people bringing you in just to do studio backgrounds and fill out harmonies?
I sang the backgrounds on Babylon AD's first record.
Right.
It was me and Cal Swan. We got paid to basically sound like a giant,
right.
choir,
crazy
choir, and it was just the two of us.
Right.
Yeah, it was the two of us.
Right.
And, every time I hear like Bang Go the Bells and all that, I'm just like, wow, listen to that, because I can hear my low, I hear my mids, hear my highs, and Cal's right next to me. And,
right.
It's pretty cool, Right. But I sang on a lot of records like that. I love doing harmonies and being a part of it because it's, the bottom line is this is music. This is what we all dreamed of doing. And I'm still living a dream. The fact that I'm able to still go out and play it, and B, to when I'm home to be able to create. And Mark Farner and I are working on a project right now, and that's a dream come true. He's one of my idols, and as far as a musician, and just one of the best people in the world. And it's nice to work with good people. I think that's also another part of it. You want to rub elbows with the buster in the studio with somebody that you actually like as a human being.
Yeah, man. The hang is 75% of it at this point. Like, I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a great musician just the other day, and he's like, man, at some point, the music's almost like that's expected. You're supposed to be able to keep up and be great at what you do. Now, what are you all about, and what's the hang? Because, like, right. It just gets to that point, and there's a lot of, like, I'm sure you get hit up by plenty of people who are like, hey, man, would you help us out with our song? And like Brett said, you guys got right down to business. Well, what are you guys about? What are you doing? Like, I do this because I love doing this.
Going?
I want to be attached to good stuff, and I want to know that you take it as seriously as I do, And if so, let's rock and roll, and I'll send you fucking keyboard parts and guitar solos and right. And it's awesome, right? And that's how you do it, right?
Mark sent that vocal idea back, and I called him back and said, dude, these guitars are badass. Like, we need to do these guitars. Like, this is a thing on the chorus. Like, and I think that's what, and I think there's something we have in common that I thought was pretty cool as we got to know each other is you were a guitar player first and became a vocalist, which was always my story,
Right.
So I think there's always this foundation of, the way you figure out parts or hear things first. You always kind of see the fretboard,
Right.
So
fretboard. And again, when I was in school, I sang, madrigal and everything that you can imagine. So all that background of the different things that I did in high school and it's not just rock. It's, it was pop, it was operatic and Latin, singing in Latin and all kinds of crazy stuff in the barbershop and all that stuff. I think just, the more that you do as a musician is what makes you the player or the writer or producer who you are. Cause then you start hearing things that other people don't hear. And that's one of the things I love to do, because it's, it's something that I worked hard at a lifetime to do.
Yeah. And on this track, like, it's a drop tuned, hard banging, high gain kind of rock and roll thing. But you're kind of, one of your hook melodies, to me, it's like, it's super Zeppelin. I mean,
it is.
And, you laid that down, and that was kind of the catalyst for the harmony solo, where we picked up your melody.
You picked up on it. Yeah.
Carried it forward and kind of made it a thing. So I hear all these different things that are really kind of more of a 70s thing coming in.
Yeah.
And I love it. So it's cool. I hear all that,
Yeah, I think what it is, you go back to the records that influence you, or that, or were part of your, of who you are. And even if you didn't sit around and play it or learn it, it becomes a part of how you hear things. So, it's not like I sat around and played every Led Zeppelin record from front to end on guitar, but I hear the scales that Jimmy was using. I also listened to the tone of his amp, and I used a Kemper on this one with the top Jimmy Led Zeppelin tones. It's all Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page stuff that he actually reprofiles and finds exactly what was used and how they mic'd it. And then basically, in essence, you're using the same amp that Jimmy was using. So, I was using Nobody's Fault But Mine tone on that one. And I was using a Tele. Like, a lot of people don't realize that Jimmy Page used a Telecaster a lot when he recorded, a lot more than probably even a Les Paul. So that was part of the whole thing. You guys are so beefy with the Les Pauls and the big sound that I needed to have something that would blend. You don't want to just keep stacking Les Pauls. You bring in something new that's lighter, and as GT, is that bringing something that's easier to just push up to zero, and it's not competing with the other tracks, and you're having to re-EQ it to make it work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the game, is like, you can put a pile of guitars on, but they can't all sound the same, or they just all sound the same. You can't tell who's who, and all the parts blend together. Like, it's like, you can't have all chocolate. There's got to be some vanilla scoops in there once in a while.
Yeah, I know, man.
Strawberry.
Isn't that the truth? It's funny. I did it. We were doing a show in Phoenix, and Blando plays Les Pauls, all the time.
Right.
And I went out and bought a Les Paul, Studio Les Paul, same year, same thing. And the guy brings it to the show. I bought it off Craigslist, give the guy the money, tune it up, put strap locks on it. We go in to do sound check, and my guitar disappeared. It was completely gone. And I realized that I had made a natural course of going towards tellies and strats and things that were not competitive to his tone.
Right.
And I realized that I had done that without really thinking about it. And I was like, I can't play this.
Yeah.
So it's just like one of the things that I can't play alone with him, because we cancel the actual tones, or just canceling everything out.
Right.
We had a rehearsal tonight just before the live stream, and I love this show, by the way. I always kind of run out of rehearsal and try and watch it.
You're already on the show, Brett. You don't have to keep buttering us up, man.
Yeah.
But tonight Eric went back to using his Friedman JJ Mini and his SGs, and for the past few weeks he was playing through like my Bogner mounted 800 while I'm playing through a Mesa Boogie Badlander, and it was all just like, and he was playing his Les Paul, and it was just too woofy. He went back to his SG tonight, and everything was magic again.
Yeah, you look at Aerosmith, you look at the Stones, you look at everybody across the board, even back then, and you realize that's the reason why you do it. Then you have separation, and it makes it easier for a sound engineer to just be able to push things. I always say things should live at zero. When we produced our own records, it was one of the things that Dana always wanted, like, let's just make sure everything rides at zero, to where all you do is push it up to zero, and then everything sounds good. And that's how we would always try to print it, so that, it was easier mix. You just put up at zero, and then it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Right. No, that was the technique back in the day, and it was like that way. If it gets shipped over to New York, whatever, and some other engineer has to put it up, He doesn't have to know too much. Put it at 0. Everything should be pretty close. Like, it was tracked. It was built in that way. A little bit of that definitely got lost. Like, that's a huge part of the art of, like, decision making and making records, like, moving forward. And with Pro Tools and with a zillion tracks, some people, not all, but a lot of people have gotten away from a little bit of that thinking, because it's like, well, we can just put it all on there, and it's like, but
and then you put something to boost one track a little bit too much, and then you start having that fight that you would if we're just looking at a board. And again, in the box, you have to look at the whole at the faders and go, okay, where is everything really at? And again, when I send things over, it's right at 0. Here we go. Just drop it in, and it should work.
It should sit in there pretty nicely. Yep.
And labeled correctly.
Yeah, right. Not
thing
audio
with,
67.
I work with some engineers.
Right.
I've had people send things, and I'm like, that one vocal's not up. And I go, what one vocal? It's all in there. And they go, well, I realized that they never even sent me that extra file of the vocal.
Yeah, right.
So I was doing everything I could to the one vocal to try to figure out what they were looking for.
Yeah.
And basically, they never sent me the file because it was mislabeled.
Right.
That's enough, buddy. It's enough.
At least it's your dog, not mine, for a change.
My dog's sleeping. I'm surprised that didn't wake him up.
He did just grumble.
It's a laptop
like,
dog, buddy. Don't worry.
He grumbled pretty hard back there.
There was another influence thing I was just thinking about too. Like, there was. I definitely hear the Jimmy Page, little Zeppelin thing. But there were times where Mark and I would get on the phone, and maybe I'd call him up and be like, "How are you hitting this band, man?" And we'd trade licks, and he'd kind of show me how he was doing stuff. There's a Jeff Beck thing going on with you for sure. Like, I always hear that with where you do that, like that big, 3-step bend up on. Right.
Love Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
Big influence of my playing.
It's weird.
Big
it's
influence.
Like, it sounds like Zeppelin, but it's played like Jeff Beck.
Do you know the funny thing is the story of Led Zeppelin? I don't know if any of your viewers know this, but they when Jimmy went to go off and do his own band, Jeff said, "Oh, it'll probably fall like a lead balloon," and that's where the name Led Zeppelin came from. Was from Jeff Beck saying that Jimmy Page's band's gonna fall like a lead balloon. It was pretty funny.
Beck talking shit. Right. Right. Right, yeah, and then they felt like a bomb, right? It shook up the world, right? I love it, man. So, Brett, is there anything like, I mean, maybe it's been a minute since you've heard this session, but I've kind of been keeping my eye on the chat, but I also just like kind of talking and going where it goes. There was a couple questions that came through. One that I figured it was a simple one that I thought should get passed to Mark, just because might be interesting if someone else didn't pick up on it. But I'm going to go back and give her credit if I can find it. Sorry, just quickly. Jennifer Lee asked, "What do you mean that you hear melody in your hands first?" Like, she was wondering if you could clarify that.
It's a natural thing for me. Right. It's a natural thing for me when I'm hearing it. I hear it in my head, but my hands know where to go because I played guitar so long. It's just like it's connected now.
Right. That's
because I've done it for so long.
Right. You use the guitar to find your way. Then you start singing after that, right?
It's quicker. Yeah, sometimes it's quicker just for me to feel out the notes on that. And then again, it's in the bending or that stuff. I'll kind of think of how I want to bend my voice because there's a different technique that you do with your hands to get the strings to do it. And when you sing, usually like even if you're singing, scales, it's all and you really, I'm more originally more classically trained vocally than the ghetto guitar playing where I came from,
Sure.
So it's probably more feel in that way than I would even have in my voice, and I think of it that way.
Right, and then you just teach your voice. Right, you're basically
that's right.
You find it with all the rock and roll swagger that comes from here, and then go, okay, all that vibrato, all that stuff. Now do that.
Right,
because you have you have the facility to be able to translate that, which is
right.
cool, man.
That's why I say in my hands, is because it's just a natural thing of how I put it into that before I even get into the vocal side of it.
Right. And then Todd Boeman said, I like this one. He said, if God made a better guitar than the Telly, he kept it for himself.
You know, what's funny is we've lost more Les Pauls, even the heritage guitars, which I used to play because I wasn't playing the Gibson. I was doing the 150s back in the day. And the necks would just break on them, just moving them in the case to the next gig. I mean, the necks just always broke, and the Telly is one of the things that would like fall off the, you know, the band trailer or off the stage. And he's just like, oh, it's okay. It's just a little dirty. And you just tune it back up and you're up and
That's
running.
still in tune, right? It's got a little chunk out of the top, but it's still in tune. It sounds great.
And that's the beauty of it. It's probably the most versatile guitar. And I didn't really get into the Telecasters really heavy until, you know, well, about 90s when I started getting into more of that type of setup, because it really does, again, it blends well with somebody who's really got the bottom end. That way you're not competing with that, you know, again, the EQ, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's great to have the salt and pepper tone thing. And it's just weird too, like, I mean, as you find with a great Telly or a great Strat or whatever it is, all the iconic models, like, they certainly have their sound, but they make you play different. They make you stand different.
They do.
When you put one
Isn't
on.
it the truth? Yeah. I mean, every one of these guitars, I'll get a totally different thing out of them. I have all these different guitars for different reasons. And it is really that one I have to work harder. One's like a speed demon.
Right.
You know,
one's
got the chunk.
Do certain things. Or maybe we just tell ourselves that so we can keep buying more of them. Man,
is
this
that what
one
it
does
is?
A thing, man. You know,
right. That's funny.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man. Speaking of guitars, there's a bunch of them in this session. Should we go through some of this stuff, Brett?
Yeah, let's run it down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so let's see here. I'm just kind of scrolling through the screen.
By the way, the tones you got on this, on all the stuff you're doing with these guys, just sounds great, man.
Oh,
you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Seriously.
Really
First thing I heard is like, wow, that's pretty badass.
Cool, man. Yeah, we're trying to find a cool zone for the Fuzzrd thing, and I think we're getting there. It was funny. I was telling Brett today, like, some of these mixes, you know, we're kind of it's the world of like we're creating a record ultimately for Fuzzrd, but we're kind of working not necessarily song by song, but we'll go into the big drum room and do a day to get 3 tunes, and then back to my house, and we chip away, and you know, so we get batches of stuff, and then we kind of end up finishing songs. But like at this point, all of our drums are done. I think 7 of the songs are basically done. With 8 are done, right, minus maybe a backing vocal here and a candy part there, and then there's a couple left that the drums are done, and that's it, and we got to build those out or whatever. But so we've been leaking these singles as we go, and it's like, I like the mix, I like the video, but I have a feeling like when all 10 songs are done, I'm gonna then want to mix the album, you know. So
yeah, it's a different thing when you're listening to it in its entirety. But and again, sometimes you get a mix and you go, God, man, this mix just sounds great, or this one is just not connecting.
Yeah,
and
or this
one
I
get
kicks
it,
the shit out of the other
again,
ones.
we did them.
Right. Now we got to catch the other ones up. Or like, again, I got a new limiter, so fuck, everything sounds better now that I got this thing I want. I got to backtrack, and I think I do think there is something like, and then I actually think it's cool with the modern day of putting singles out and putting videos out. I actually think it's cool that it's like the video mix is what it is.
It's
different.
When
the album comes out, that's going to be what that is, and maybe you'll hear a part you didn't hear before, or maybe maybe your favorite part, it got turned down, and you're like, what the fuck? It was so much better in the video.
Right?
Or whatever, but it's like I open this stuff up, and I'm like, ooh, we're reviewing a mix right now, and I find it ironic because like when I open it, I'm like, I can't wait to mix this thing again or whatever, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's cool. I mean, so we got kind of our typical drum thing. I'll just do a quick rundown for everyone that's watching, and if anyone has specific questions, I'll do my best to monitor. I'm sure Joe is too, but drum kit. We recorded these at Winterland, which is a nice big drum room in the Twin Cities, API console. Nothing special. Added a snare drum sample, just because I can solo those up. We'll give everyone just kind of the quick bits.
Have you ever used any of the Tune Track stuff, by the way?
I haven't. I started off as a drummer, so I have a drum set in the back of the room, and like,
gotcha.
I know that stuff is like way quick and whatever, but I'm just like,
man, yeah. There's some new stuff. I'll turn you on to Rick, one of the guys that works there. But it's amazing of the again, as technology keeps coming forward of blending the two is the key point. I think.
Right. Yeah. No,
I used a ton of that stuff, man. It's great for being creative.
Oh,
just being
I'm sure
quick.
for like quick songwriting.
Yep.
Don't have access.
Yeah, so I did this stuff with Mark Farners. We just I set up a whole system. I said, where are you feeling the song? And I tapped it out and started building a drum track.
Right.
Right.
Let me see here. I'm just bumping space bar. So yeah, drums, I'll do a quick solo up. Yeah, all acoustic drums other than we did add just one snare sample, just subtly, but
that the room sounds really good in that. How did you mic up the room? It's enough.
Well, what'd you say, Brett? Can't hear you too well for some reason.
Sorry, it was a solo safe situation. Sorry, yeah, we mic the room. It's a long drum room. We take two old 414s, the AKG 414s, the old silver body ones that have like the C12 capsule, and we literally kind of put them like right off the floor. Like if this is the hardwood floor, like they're kind of facing down on the stand, like an inch above the floor. I read that somewhere, like it takes that reflection away. I tried it once and was just like, oh wow, floor mics. Plus, like, I never need more cymbals in any mic. So like, somehow moving it to the floor made it, I don't know, it makes them a little warmer. It does a thing. I feel like we somehow lose Zoom audio.
When you solo save stuff, maybe?
Yeah, that shouldn't change anything. Nothing solo.
Send is going.
I don't hear the guys anymore.
I don't either.
Oh yeah, I do. All right, I thought maybe I lost you guys. What'd you say? Am I losing you? Or not? Are you not? Are you talking or not? Zoom lag.
Now he's
I'm
messing
trying
with you.
to, in the future we'll all just have built-in Zoom lag, and it'll all the time will come back together. But yeah, so yeah, simple room mics, and then we do one mono Coles mic I have tucked in there, and that's actually that's worth talking about. The Coles mic is kind of doing this, it's doing this echoey kind of Bonham-y thing. I've got EQ, just rolling off top, and a bunch of harsh stuff. This was kind of like back by the floor tom. Then a bunch of distortion, more EQ after the distortion, really mangling this mic. And then a bunch of this Manny echo, but it's kind of doing this Bonham-y like. It's kind of like blended in. It's like almost like a drum loop, but it is him. It's just a room mic with echo and distortion. I like stuff like that that's kind of really blown out and like too much on its own, but you can kind of tuck it back in underneath the clean drum mics. It does a thing. What do we got? Bass, amp, and
Mark,
DI.
you're muted, FYI.
What'd you say?
Mark's muted. I heard him say, or he looked to say something.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's to the dog barking in the background. It's
Appreciate
not
it.
prevalent.
Yeah.
My dog alarm.
Nice. He's working his own cough button. I like it. Professional over there. Yeah, we'll keep running down. We'll get to the fun guitars in 1 second because all we got to do is just quickly breeze by this bass. No one cares about bass, right, Rob Berg? I'm sure he's in the chat. Oh, dude! But yeah, we got DI and amp. That's what you do, and then they're bussed together. Looks like I am using some plugins on the DI, so I've got like this kind of Ampeg emulation thing going. Classic SSL channel strip deal, and then on the amp track, using this Sheps thing. I don't know, adding looks like saturation, using the EQ, using everything, using every module. I don't know, liked it. So yeah, that's the bass bus. Sounds like this. We'll go to this spot.
The Fuzzrd right there. There's a definitive Fuzzrd tone.
Yeah. I guess another thing I didn't mention, which is true, is like typically we'll do the DI, and then if there's only one amp, if there's two amps, we'll do a bass amp and a guitar amp. If there's only one amp, the amp track's always a guitar amp. Like just doing all that fuzzy
you know what?
stuff.
I asked Jimmy Page of how they recorded the bass. Actually, Dana asked him that. And he said, how did you record the bass? And he said they did a Marshall amp 800 on whisper volumes.
Right.
And there's something about that, again, if it just really sticks out in the mix because it's not too big, it's not too boomy,
right.
But you can hear the articulation in it, and you get the tube sound, obviously, but
totally
same mindset.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah, it just brings all that neck and all that growl forward. Like, often you think you've got a really mid-rangey bass sound in solo or whatever, but especially when you're competing with a bunch of high-gain guitars, like you'll find yourself adding if you mix with your eyeballs, you're like, no way, I'm not allowed to add this much mid-range or top end to a bass, but you often need to do that to get it to pop over a wall of heavy distorted guitars, So,
right.
So yeah, the guitar amp does help kind of pre-shape that for sure. So, and that totally makes sense. The Marshall low volume, so the speakers aren't going crazy. It's not blowing up the mic. That's another thing I struggle with, or not struggle with, but talk to guitar players about. Is like, I get that it's fun to play your amp loud as fuck, and like the guitar feels a certain way, and there's some energy exchange that happens, and I don't want to shortchange that, but also I do know that like microphones that are this close to the speaker don't necessarily want it loud as fuck if they don't have to have it that way. Like they can hear it.
Right.
They're right there. So sometimes like you're actually making your guitar smaller because it's like you got to let the microphone capsule not get overwhelmed. Be able to use your nice
to feel
use your nice preamp and be able to put some gain behind that and like build it up in stages instead of just like, whoa, if I pad everything and turn it all the way down, I guess you can play your Marshall wide open.
Right.
It doesn't always work quite that way. And and you got to have a room to accommodate it. There's a lot of recording nerdery. It's like a wide open Marshall doesn't sound good in a booth if it just starts bouncing around on itself and just turns into a big comb filtered mess or whatever. Like you got to have airspace. But a lot of people are figuring it out at home, and man, like you said, you're using Kemper sometimes. I have the HX Line 6 thing, which just like the stuff really sounds
great. Yeah.
It sounds incredible, man. There's a million ways to make great sounds now, and I definitely grew up, and I'm still at heart like an amp and guitar snob, and I still like all the classic stuff and try to collect it or whatever. But I've given up on the whole like, oh man, amps are better, this is better, or whatever. It's like none of it's better or worse. It's like we talked about earlier. It's all just tools, and it's all ways to make great music. If the great sound you made came out of a little emulation pedal, great, still great. You know what I mean? Great sound. That's
nobody knows the difference. Nobody's running video.
Right. We say that all the time too. No one's ever gonna see this stuff again.
Yeah, right.
They're just gonna start listening to it. Like Brett will always chime in when I'm on these shows. He's like, "Hey man, your mix looks great." Like, thanks, buddy.
That's the joke because nobody's looking at your music; they're listening to it, right?
Right. I'm I say it all the time. Me and you, some drummers like bumming about a snare hit. I'm like, dude, no one's ever gonna hear this click track again. No one's ever gonna see these waveforms again. Like, if you just close your eyes and listen, is it awesome? Like, stop looking at it. You know what I mean? Just because it says it's wrong doesn't mean it's wrong. Like, there's some great YouTube channels like Rick Beato we mention all the time. He's gone through and you grid a classic drum performance from Bonham or something to show you what would sound like if you put it right through Beat Detective, and it's like, is it perfectly on the grid? Yes. Does it
No.
groove and funk and do all the Bonham stuff? No. So
Yeah. Well, that's the imperfections are what make things pretty. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Can't overthink it. Just put it down and don't overthink it. Because if you start lining things up too much, then you don't have the chorusing effect or the things that really give it that.
Right. I was just listening to this guy, Eric Valentine, who's one of my favorite engineers and producers, and he was talking about just that. And he was saying, I think the human brain actually looks for imperfections in things. That's engaging to find these little things. If everything is super perfect and super clean, it becomes monotonous and it's easy to stop paying attention to it. But if there's nuance and humanity in there, it's like, oh, what was that? What was that little thing or whatever? And like, it just keeps your brain longer. It makes sense to me,
Right. I agree.
Don't like tuning vocals anymore at all. I really try to stay away from it.
No, I do the same thing. I just go in and sing it. It's better to sing it than have it perfect.
Yeah, that's what you sound like. That's
exactly it. Exactly it. And auto tuners don't like my voice anyway.
Right. That's funny. It's funny you say that. They don't like Brett's voice either. I've told them, I'm like, dude, it's a good thing you don't like Melodyne because Melodyne doesn't like you,
Yeah.
Like it doesn't know what to do with all that grit and gravel and shit. It starts throwing it all over the place.
It just throws it off the map. Right. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. No.
Right. And I do like to think, we've had this conversation, Brett, like I love the tools. I often do Beat Detective drummers and tune vocals, and I'm not completely opposed to or for anything. I use it when it's necessary or if I need to, but I do think I'm not trying to tune every word. I do think that whether it's 10 years from now or 5 years from now or however many years, we will look back and be like, oh man, that was a great record. I wish we wouldn't have done all that shit and tuned all those vocals, and I wish it would have just been what it was. I think that lasts longer. It just does.
If you sing it great, just leave it. I mean, if they're, I'm a true believer of that, especially with the voice. The imperfections are what make it. Again, you think about the voice. The vocal cords are the size of a quarter.
Right.
If you even think about that a whole gig rests upon the size of a quarter. I talk about a mind.
Right, but no pressure. Now get out there, bud. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Oh man, I love it. Guitars, Brett. You remember what you used on this stuff? You remember what your main left and right rhythm guitars? We always start with a pair. I beat you to death on the first one. We refine every riff and every bit. And it's absolutely a nightmare for you. And then, once we've gotten through that first one, you now know all the bits. We've worked every bit out. And then your favorite part of the whole record is playing that right side where you already know the tricks and you just get to hear it spread out and you do it in a pass or two because we've worked it all out.
I think that's my favorite part of tracking.
I know it is. The first double.
He beats my ass to the ground.
Right.
And, really gets that first rhythm track, and we always start guitar first. Rob puts his bass on later, so it's just and I kind of suck. I got a thing, but I suck too. So he beats me up on timing and playing it tight, and play it like.
And most guitar players, it's funny. Most guitar players, when I play guitar, I'm more on top of it than when I'm actually playing bass. When I play bass, I naturally lay back. It's just the weirdest thing. But you have to have a different mindset and understand what you do in each side of it, because there is a difference of how you play.
Well, I find that I'm a little behind, a little ahead, everything except right on. So,
I find that too. Right.
That too. One thing that helped me is getting the guitars plucked. That's I don't know where that came from, but that was a big thing because I'm tuning down with Les Pauls, right? And I got bit by that Beato video and went back to really light strings with the low tuning. So if you're a Les Paul is always, some intervals aren't necessarily that perfectly in tune. So it's kind of a basic thing. If you go to track this guitar part, but you're compensating because you feel like, oh, if I hit this a little too hard, or I do this, or I do that, this chord might be out of tune. Well, you're not really playing like you should. It's getting in the way of your performance. So you're not cutting loose. Like, you're uptight. You don't want to hit a chord too hard this way or squeeze it too much or whatever.
I hate that. Right.
So you get the guitar plecked, and then you can just rail on it, and like everything's in tune great. And then all of a sudden you're playing like you should, and the tuning issues aren't getting in the way of the way you perform. That first track goes down good, and then once we get that first track down, it's like super easy for me. You know?
Yeah.
Right. We've worked out all the little skeletons in the closet, and then you're like, got it. As long let's just double it up. Got it figured out.
Defining your part, like, that's a big thing. I think a lot of guys go in the studio and they think they know what they're actually playing, but they really don't. If you really dissect like a rhythm part,
and there's some players who can't double, and that's okay.
Yeah.
If there's some people that really just have a thing that it's the dance that they do, and they're going to do it the one dance way. There's a methodical way of making those guitars bigger, which is what you're doing here. And it's a wall of guitars. When you hear, this track, I mean, it's freaking huge. How many guitars are on this thing?
400.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
we haven't counted because, we don't have enough paper and pencil and time. No, it's actually, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, Brett had a stack on there for sure. I'm scrolling through, so it's like, so drums are blue here. Bass is yellow, bass master. So like from here to here is basically what Brett had, which I'm going to call Joe's laughing. I mean, that's not that many. What is that? 18, 20 guitars, But then it's like, and then we move into vocals, but then I've separated it. So after vocals, and some of these are your vocals, but this is, so everything after this last blue one here, this is what Mark sent. So this is a whole nother.
Here's the additional shit.
Right. So there's quite a few more guitars and so it definitely adds up. That goes back to what we were talking about, finding different tones for stuff and going, okay, I like that part. We got to make it fit in there though, if we want to have it speak and actually get through all these other guitars. So
we're always cognizant of those choices. Like, it's not the same guitar. When we hit a pre-chorus, we change the tones and to bring impact to the tones and make things bigger. Or we got tellies everywhere. There's always a telly on our stuff. But thinking back on this, I do remember that the original bass track, I don't think we redid it. It was DI, and then we ran through an Engel.
For the bass guitar fuzzy track, right? That makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, I think that this was kind of before I had that Badlander that I love so much. This was the Bogner modded JCM 800, which is for anybody who doesn't know, it's kind of like the mod that's kind of famous on the first Alice in Chains record.
Right. It's a JCM 800 that runs on jet fuel. Right.
Right. It's great. I mean, it's got a lot of gain. It's got a sound. It sounds like that, Alice. It sounds like We Die Young, in a box.
Yeah, it's awesome. Right. Flamethrower.
That was one of the channels, and then the other one was probably that Bogner Helios Eclipse.
Okay. So dueling Bogners. What kind of Marshall, but Marshall by way of Bogner, right?
Yeah. Well, and the 800 is, it is a Marshall, but it was modified by Ryan.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Right.
But again, like, different sounds out of those two amps. Sometimes we like to use the same guitar for some of the doubles just for reason of intonation. And
right.
Like
we'll go same guitar, two different amps, right? Because we want that perfect tracking of left and right. We're just looking to make it sound bigger. It's not supposed to even sound like two guitars. This is like stereo one guitar or whatever.
One big, one big boot.
Yeah. So let's see here. And then, like as we typically do, and it looks like it comes and goes, but often what we'll do for like the main meat and potatoes for Brett is obviously a hard left and right. And then we'll do a thickener that just goes right down the middle. And sometimes it plays all the heavy riffs, or sometimes it just kind of comes and goes to punctuate spots. It looks like we threw a third one in the center. I'm just going to solo these three, and we'll take a look at our left and right guitars here. It's pretty thick. Those guys playing the choruses. We'll play with that a lot too with Brett. Like the first chorus will just be diamonds and playing whole notes. The second chorus he's playing quarter notes. By the third chorus he's playing eighth notes, and just like, so it's the same rhythm guitars, but they're kind of evolving as well. I don't know. Everyone's used to that ADD thing where it's like I need a new everything every 8 bars. A lot of that. We like stacking guitars. It's definitely a guitar band. Brett likes guitars. I like guitars. Like I said, it gives us a reason to buy more guitars. So, we're like, dude, we might need a baritone. Let's figure it out immediately. All right, baritone's on the way. You should have it on Wednesday. Here's the tracking number. Cool. Session Thursday.
Mark, there's a cat on your back.
Just in case you didn't know.
Oh, you're muted.
Brent,
Oh, muted again. Hot button.
always on my shoulder. Yeah, that guy's always on my shoulder.
How about some of Mark's guitars, like the cool
Yeah.
Zeppelin-y thing that comes in after chorus one?
How
The
nice of
guitar-
you. How nice of you to pass the torch, Brett, and not want to showcase all 19 of your faders one by one.
I'd like to hear his stuff,
Yeah, there's some stuff.
We could always solo the vocals.
It's been a minute.
And what's
since
interesting is you guys actually on the front, I did the same melody, and then you really introduced it on the second, right after the first chorus. Like that was your idea, Jeremy, to bring in that second bow da doo da dee.
Oh, right.
which
Wait
actually-
for it. Right.
I played it front, but you said, "Hey, that's a good part. Let's just give them something later in
Right,
the track,
right.
have something to listen to."
Right. Keep it for a new thing instead of kind of putting it right at the top. Yeah. Me and Brett battle that often. I'm like, well, the first time the riff is established, like, I get it. You want to put some candy right away at the top of the song, but it's like, this is a heavy rock band. Like, I want to hear just the riff. And then next time it's the riff plus the extra thing. or
Plus the
whatever.
candy, so to
Right,
speak. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
And the part you're talking about is that, like, for anybody that was listening earlier, that's the big Jeff Beck,
Boo doo doo doo.
right. It's been a minute since I've been in this session, but let's see what we got here. It might be these guys. So that's the string overdub that kind of like accompanies those essentially.
Yeah, so it's like the whole adding a string,
Right.
adding strings to what Jimmy would do with Kashmir. That whole mindset of playing it along.
Sounds like for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got these guys. Let's see what they're doing. All right, these are kind of right. I want to just make sure we're finding
My
the right
backward bends. Yeah,
stuff. Right, backwards bends.
Cool
All right,
stuff,
so this is
that's the Jimi Hendrix mindset.
yeah, right. Psychedelic. Have you seen or heard, Mark? I think I showed this to Brett a couple of weeks ago. But like the like computer generated like couple songs that have happened where they've like, you heard about this? Like
No.
they took a bunch of,
No.
the computer listens to all of Hendrix recorded output and does some analysis and then creates a new Jimi Hendrix song. Have you heard about this?
Wow, no, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it's out. It's weird. There's a Hendrix tune. There's a Nirvana tune. There's oh man, what was that crazy singer? Amy Winehouse tune. Like, it's really strange, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's doing. Or again, it's like it's smart computers or whatever. It's listening to every note and every melody and every word and going, okay, based on that, this would have been a song or whatever.
It's
you know?
it's kind of like Google. So you were at Lowe's 4 times last week.
Right.
You know?
Right. Mulch is on sale again this week. Right? How would
Yeah,
they know?
exactly.
Right. Too funny. I think I found the actual guitars that are playing that melody. Let me look here. Right, there's the wahs.
That's the middle section.
Right, there's the wahs, and then these are the guys. These are the guys. like I said, I could look at these sessions before the episode, but what fun would that be? Cool chorus layers, right?
Yeah.
All kinds of cool alternate stuff.
That's in the school of Brian May right there. That's totally Brian May.
Right. Love
Well, in the kind of a middle position, almost Shankry actually, more than Brian May.
all kinds of fun stuff. What is this? What is this one? This is some backwards guy in the re-intro. Right, we had fun with this. We kind of used quite a few tracks of this and got it like, let me solo all of this is kind of during the re-intro. I think this is everything that's going on there. Right, so you got the psychedelic thing, and then there's the strings too that are running in that same section. So just to give you a little perspective of that. Cool stuff. I love it.
That's fun stuff, man.
It's the ear candy. It's the headphone treats that, like, maybe you don't notice the first time.
You know, and Jeremy, did you ever work with tape? You worked with tape back in the day, right?
I've been around just long enough to have started kind of my beginning on the tail end of tape. Like it was a cassette 4 track. And then
so what we did back in the day on the Slaughter records, like for instance, Burning Bridges or any of that stuff, we would take the tape and we'd find for instance, the snare track. That's what I was doing on the guitar track, is we would take the 24 track, there you go. And we would take the snare, which is on track 2, or actually be about 4 to 7, because we had 3 snares. And what we would do is we would take the snare that we were going to process, we would flip the tape over and go, okay, 23, 24, now it's 1.
Right.
So you'd flip the tape upside down on the machine, and then we would print the reverb backwards.
Right. So when you flipped it,
so what happens is it goes snip like that. It's actually the room coming back in. So a lot of times I do the same thing of what would be all this nightmare of like, are you sure that's the right track, dude? I don't want to erase anything. I mean, it's all that insecurity that you had back in the day when you flipped the tape upside down.
Right.
Now you can just go this, take that, flip it around, reverse it, put a reverb on it, flip it back around, and boom, and you're in it. So it's done in like, less than a minute when it took you, 20 minutes of cold sweat, before.
Totally. I remember that, man. Yeah, like you said, you had to do the math, man. If the thing that was on 17 is the thing that needs to get flipped around, and then all of a sudden you're like counting back from what? All right, 16, 15, 14, like, right. I remember doing like trying to
Are you sure? Yeah. Everybody in the room.
Right. Or like spot erasing toms. People would go through and find the tom hits and all right, cool. And I can clean that out. Or cutting tape, cutting drum fills.
Right.
Great take, but you blew that drum fill. Like we could get out
Razor
the
it
blade.
out and put it back in. Yeah.
Now it's
crazy.
just like, now you just try.
So that's what that is. If for you guys out there wondering how you get that effect, that's what I did actually on it.
Right. Flipped around the guitars.
It's actually on a 3-second plate, like an old EMT plate is what I did.
And to truly appreciate like all these layers that you put in those spots, because, sometimes you're just listening and it's a rock song and you're going to hear the main melody and you hear it blow by. If you listen in headphones, to this track, like you really get to hear all those things.
There's things going like this, cross panning.
Yeah, it is so awesome. It's so cool.
I think it's the Bauer. I forget the name of it. Bauer thing that's on Waves.
Okay.
Have you messed around with that?
Yeah, must be one of the Michael Brower plugins or something. I think I know.
Yeah. It's one that, and it has. It's what it is. Is it has again, I don't know who came up with it. I just bought the thing.
Yeah, right.
There's one that goes in and out like this, and then it also has one that's like a rotary, so it's going around. So you actually can get the distance as well as the depth of where it's going.
Right.
So you start getting this 3D image, and some of that stuff is printed with that effect.
Right.
That's what's giving you the swimming around the room or an auto pan that I put on it.
Right. Swirling around in the stereo image. Right. Just
Right.
Kind of getting outside of the speakers.
Did you play that whole section of what we're talking about? I'm so ADD. I don't even know what's
Did
happening.
I play it? I was just playing. I did just play the re-intro section with kind of the swirlies and the
Boo da doo doo dee.
Right.
That part.
I'll play.
Yeah,
it all,
he had the strings in it.
Right, I had it just soloed up, but so yeah, I'll play that section kind of in context. But yeah, we had some of this stuff soloed up there. But yeah, here's the re-intro in context. And if you do have headphones, or if you're not listening on a phone or an iPad, and if you can dig in a little bit, yeah, listen for like some of those reverse guitars and some of that stuff we were just talking about. It's definitely swirling around back there.
Not just like a friend. Tell me that you're lonely and you're wasted. Nails are digging into me.
That's cool.
How about those chorus
That's fun.
guitars?
That's fun, man.
Oh, and then you hit us with this, man, which ended up being like our intro, kind of our first sound. It's the Spacey Thrill intro. What are you doing? What are you doing when you're digging up stuff like that in your lab? You got a keyboard
I don't know.
station?
I was just going for something that really had like a really I just named it that. I don't even remember where I got it from.
I mean, you have some type of MIDI controller and a couple of banks.
I
of
do.
sounds,
I use
right.
Cubase, so I have.
Okay.
I have 2 terabytes of programs that I use just for recording,
Right.
just in samples and keyboards. I mean, I could sit here and go doink, 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 and keys all day long, just
Yeah.
listening to different stuff.
Right.
But I just found what I was looking for. I was like literally doing that till I found the sound. I go, that would be perfect for this.
This is cool. Well, I'll solo this and show it. It's like it's kind of cinematic. Like it definitely feels like it sets up like some shit's about to happen. It's like the first sound in Thriller or something.
Like a movie, yeah.
Right. You look over your shoulder. Oh fuck, Fuzzrd's here. Right.
That's the whole idea.
Right. Let me solo this up. All right, it's just low. It's just low and creepy, but it kind of sets up before the guitar. Right. Like Joe said, it's like it's the fog rolling over the road. All of a sudden the temperature's dropping and
that's what and that's the whole idea, is to cinematically to make music tell a story or take you to a different place, because that's really what the records that we all love take you to, that
right
somehow, one way or another.
It was creepy. It was cool. That other guitar that comes in that's like, that was a synth one Keeley pedal. Like,
oh yeah, right.
And
oh, that's cool. I didn't know you used that.
yeah, and you know what we do with that pedal a lot of times is on choruses, we'll take a guitar, the guitars are tuned low, and we'll do the big footballs or whatever, but we'll tune the guitar down, even an octave lower, and take that synth one pedal and just kind of blend that tone in, and it just thickens that whole chorus up. But it's super, it's subtle, like.
Yeah, right. It's like putting an octave pedal on your guitar or whatever, but yeah.
Well, that's what Mick Mars actually does. He has like a big sub on stage, and it's one of the biggest rhythm guitar tones on earth is what he's playing through. It's just that really big, just unmistakably Mick.
Right. Yep.
Everyone wants Mick Mars tone. You can't all have it.
There's a 60 cycle hum in it.
right.
But it sounds great.
Oh man, he's killer, man. He is one of the best, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
What else? I'm trying to think of what else we got. I mean, obviously there's the background vocals.
The chorus guitars that Mark has, the Brian May kind of,
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we
kind of
right?
we kind of showed
Yeah.
those. Yeah, those are like the kind of the Queen stack thing. I got
Dee, dee,
yeah,
da, dee.
these
Yeah.
guys. And then these have another guy that comes in there too.
And then the little melody that comes up after that is so cool.
It's the only thing it took away from what that vocal was if I just kept plowing through it.
Yeah,
Right.
and
It's cool how you
part
played it,
that,
right?
That you have soloed up right now. That was the first thing that Mark sent back to me and said, "Hey, here's my idea for my vocal harmony with your lead
Right.
vocal."
All right. Right. Going back to finding it with the hands first.
And I was like, "Dude, those guitars are freaking awesome! Like, that's what we got to do. Like, we didn't put the guitars down. Like, let's do it with guitar, And he kind of, started bringing more hooks than a Def Leppard record.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
Right.
That's fun stuff, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, it works out perfect. You added any guitars, and Brett's like, "Hey, more guitars." You know what that means? More guitars.
More guitar tracks.
It's like he found a workaround for me telling him, like, "You put enough shit on here." He's like, "Well, now Mark's putting shit on here. It's not me, man." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I got it." Right.
Right.
And I will say this, I was always thinking about your voice on this. Like I've said it before. I think, the coolest thing when I think back about like all your big hits and stuff is you have this freaky hybrid of like having this beautifully clean voice with all this rasp at the same time. Like,
Right.
And
it's very different. Love it or hate it, it is what it is, That's for sure.
Because like you said, it blends good. Like your dirty tone blends in with mine really good on this. But for all the Slaughter fans that were listening, like you can confirm this, Mark. I was like, sing up really high, like get up over my vocal, like and
right.
That. But Mark was like, no, it doesn't need that. Like your lead vocal's the thing there, so I'm gonna kind of sing something under it here to just support it and
to support it, right?
And that is, that's good artistry. That's good producing. That's like doing what's required for the song and serving the song first, not your ego, not your whatever.
Right. It's all about the song, ultimately. Yeah.
Tune, like there was, nobody really threw any shade at this tune when it came out, but there was one guy that was like, "Oh man, like how come there's not a Mark solo?" And I saw that and I thought he meant like guitar solo.
Right. Well, now you think of me as a part-time guitar player. That's why.
I chimed in. It was on your Facebook page, and I said, "Didn't you listen to the end of the song? He's got this killer outro solo." He's like, "No, I meant like lead vocal solo." And
there you go. Yeah.
So
Next song, we'll literally give you a lead vocal solo. We'll stop the entire band. We'll
Just
stop
everything.
fucking everything in 20 seconds.
Piss off
Mark.
all the dogs in the neighborhood.
Right.
But that was one of the things I really enjoyed about working with you is it was such a non-rock star attitude, and hey man, like I'm fortunate to work with somebody like you. I know that. But it never really felt like that. You were always so down to earth.
No, I mean, look, I'm a musician. I'm a gearhead. We can all talk about gear and how we obtain things. And again, each conversation is a step in knowledge forward, and I love to be educated at my craft and to know new things and be able to share those things with other people too, because, ultimately we can't take it with us. So, you want to share it with everybody else. So they're making good records and hey, I heard this. And that's the beauty of this dance that we do as musicians and artist producers, that we're always trying to find better tones. I mean, before I even stepped into this, you guys already had great tone. It wasn't something I just went in and said, "Hey, and let me add my thing." It was more of like, how do I fit what you need that I can provide that's not getting in the way of your tone? And then, I sent those over. And every time I sent stuff, I was like, God, I know what it's like as an engineer when all of a sudden more tracks show up. You're like, how the hell am I going to put all this shit in here? So I'm thinking about JT going, he's going to hate me for this shit. But,
No,
you know, I said to you, was one of the things I said, the mute button is your friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't like it, just push the mute button and no feelings are hurt. But if you have it and if it's needed, or he might say, you know, that might be something really cool in the back end of the song. And you could see he used that. He used some of the backwards guitars and he flew it in where he wanted it, as opposed to where I just threw it, you know.
Right.
And that's the beauty of the dance of music, really.
And that was a cool thing for me to watch between you two guys, like, because you're both producers, you're both engineers, you're both like, you get it all on that level. I mean, I get it from watching it. But you know, I'm more, you know, my view is a little bit different, but like it's cool to watch Jeremy just pick up pieces of your stuff and flip it around and turn it inside out and go, you know, hey, let's slide this thing in the beginning, or let's put it here, or, you know, the pan, like
it is almost like like, you know, the Lawnmower Man mindset of a virtual side where you go in and you just start grabbing stuff and just dragging it all over across where you want it.
Right.
Instead of the old days of just having tape roll and just go, well, how are we going to fit something in there, or something needs to go in that spot? You can physically see. And that is a different thing of the old recording that is actually a downfall of using the old recording, is that you don't have a visual to see when you have too much stuff going on, or to actually be able to drag things in. So it changes your whole dynamic as to do it in the box or a computer.
And there you go. This mix looks great.
Right?
And this mix looks impeccable. Right.
Yeah.
No, it's true, man. It's like you know, it's nice to know, you know, it's like talking about the tracks you sent and being willing to be like, use whatever, mute whatever. Most people that do this, that get it, certainly get that. They don't get too worried about, oh man, he muted my one thing. Or maybe they're secretly to themselves like, oh, I like that little thing at the outro. What the hell? You know, but whatever, it's no big deal. But like some of that stuff you were talking about, like flying stuff around, or you know, maybe muting a part here, but bringing it back later, like, I do take liberties with that, but I feel like I always chalk that up to like, well, I feel like that's the stuff that we would have done had we had the opportunity to track it together, where I was running Pro Tools and you were playing guitar. Oh man, maybe what if you didn't do it? Like, we don't get that step because we're just not together, and it's, you know, the COVID times. And
do you find, JT, when you're playing, like when you're just recording yourself, it is a little bit more difficult, and Brett, you probably can understand this, is that when you're running the board and doing all that stuff, to record it and then play it at the same time, you're literally bouncing from one side of your brain to the other side. The left side is where you're doing all the mixing and all the things that make sense, and you go to your creative side when the track's rolling. So that's one of the things that you probably saw with JT, with what he's doing, is he allows you to be completely right brain and engaged of where it feels instead of what you think. And there is a difference of laying the track where you think it should be, and he's using the logical side. So you become one brain. In an instance of why I say the dance of music, you become one, you know, mega brain that actually is doing that together. And it's harder to do on your own, but it can be done. But it takes a while to get that rhythm, even for yourself.
Yeah. It's tough. Yeah, I think we're lucky in that respect. Like, I mean, we've also, Brett and I have made a lot of records over a lot of years now, so we're pretty familiar with how each other works, and like, you know, any awkwardness about like doing vocals around each other or how that process works. It's like, that shit's just over because 15 years we've been making records or whatever.
Learn with it all is like, well, especially with mixing, just like get the fuck out, just let him do his thing. Like, I don't even
let him do his thing. Yeah, and you know he's going to do what you want him to do anyway, because he knows you well enough. You know
what? He's the guy that's good at what he does, and his job is to make me a better artist.
Right.
I try not to. I really try to just let go. Like I just, you know, here's my ideas. Like, and not be too married to any one particular thing, and just do what. Like, I put my trust in him to make
Right.
mixes. And like I
And
used to listen to vocal comps like on the Downtread records early on, right? And I'd sit in your background and I would go, oh, well, I like that one, or I like that. I don't like this, and I don't like that. And I finally just went, oh, I don't really care. That's just who I am. Let him figure out what the best version of it is. Because,
Right.
like at some point, it becomes like looking at your face and not liking it, or wishing people didn't.
Right. Well, there's something that I forget where I heard it, but art is never finished. It's just abandoned, and you just have to take a point where you just say, that's enough. And you have to move on to something else, because otherwise you'll just be creating one mega art, but it's something that somebody won't understand. Sometimes you have to just move on to the next piece of art, so you're actually flowing with art as opposed to just becoming a stale pool of ideas that could be passed down through everything else that you do. So it's more of turning things out. And I think that's the key point of letting him do the mixes and that. I've had John Cranfield do mixes on my last solo record, and Michael Wagner did the mixes on my solo before that. And the Slaughter stuff, we did it all ourselves, but there was two people able to take the right brain and the left brain in between, so you could be creative and still be mindful. And I think there's a, Lennon McCartney, or however you want to look at it, that it makes creativity better when everybody's working that way.
Yeah. And the thing JT always instills in me is just work. Just keep creating work. Keep writing more songs. Just write a song. Don't worry about don't be a perfectionist with everything. Just get down to business and just do it. Like, decide that you're writing. Like, the body of work doesn't get better unless your friend had the YouTube video up the other day.
Yeah, talking about Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you write a song? A really good song. I mean, I guess the premise of that was like, you got to write 40 songs. Like,
you got to write a bunch of bad ones. How do you write a great song? You write a bunch of bad ones, and then you get better.
Right.
It's just,
and you get a feel of what you're good at. And again, I don't write country music. It's not my thing.
Sure.
And, I was told, from a publisher here in Nashville, I was like, look, if you're writing country, you basically write nothing above an 8th grade education, because that's how the radio thinks, and that's how they've actually really, in my mind, have made it to where the male artists can't have any thought, but all the women artists can have anything they have no rules, but the men are always to the, a beer in a truck and a party and that,
who doesn't like
crying
that
in
shit,
my beer
Mark?
so
Who doesn't like a beer and a truck and the money and all that stuff, man?
Well, there you go. Well,
you gotta
as
go
long
to
as it's
Nashville
running,
and write those hits, man.
As long as the beer's cold and the truck's running, you're all good,
Right. That parking lot's right next to the bank. I'm telling you, man. No, yeah, it's true, man. You gotta love what you do, and I'm sure you could be in sessions writing country tunes and getting paid well for your input, but that's not your thing. That music doesn't excite you, so it
doesn't excite me.
Right.
It's again, you get to the point where you just want to do what you love doing, and also be proactive of promoting the music that you like instead of just being something for a paycheck, because it's not about that when you get to art.
Right. Yeah, it's so tricky. I talk to a friend about it all the time, whether it's a mixer or being a guy in a band or whatever it is. Like, at some point, the excitement of just being a part of everything fades away, and you find yourself wanting to really be a part of the shit that you love. And then there's a lot of other stuff that crosses your desk that you're just like, not me, that is
right.
That comes back to why we're musicians and artists and do the things we do, is that we didn't ever really want to have to do shit that wasn't me. You don't want to go to work at a job that you don't love, or you know what I mean? Like, and it gets that way with music too, where it's like, a buddy sends you a song and he's like, I think this is it, man. And you're like, man, I don't know. But then the flip side is someone sends you something and you love it, and you're like, dude, I got a bunch of ideas and let's jump on it. And what if we did this? And like, it's like you definitely recognize like when you're really into it, or when you're working on it for the right
when you're
reasons,
lit up.
You're
when you're lit up on
inspired, and if you can get to a point where you're lucky enough to only work on that stuff, what a great existence. Like it's inspiration every day. And like you were talking about earlier, I know that this last year and change of getting kind of live music taken away and a lot of this other stuff taken away, like I don't think I've ever really taken like being a lifetime and full-time musician for granted, but if anything, this last year made me really reflect on and really respect like how lucky I am. You know what I mean? Like, and how I
Yeah,
can't wait to
God
play.
gave us a real good reboot on all that, and I think that just from the sales of the shows that we have on the books right now, I mean, it's just people are ready to go to that experience again. I mean, things are up. The festivals are selling more than they were.
Right.
People are ready to get back out into it, and that's reassuring that we're at that point right now. Especially since we've been on lockdown. I've been here at my farm for a year, just basically doing home improvement and just playing on other projects.
Right. Yeah, man, dude. It's so funny. As have we all. It's like I'm either working on Pro Tools or complaining about the prices of lumber at Menards.
Oh my God! I just saw. Was it a 12 by 8? No, it was a 12 by. God, it was like 12 inches by 2, and it was like, I think it was $42.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, are you freaking kidding? I was at Home Depot last night. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, I just finished no more wood around my house because that's all I've done is build porches. And it's cost me a fortune this time.
I'm surrounded by this New Zealand select pine. And, I'm glad I built this shit 2 years ago, man, because I've been like adding little bits here and there. And I'm like, man, I went to the thing and got like, a couple twigs and it was $70. So, like what the
Yeah. It's a big change. Well, I'll tell you what, man, I enjoyed working with you guys on this project. Has been fantastic, and I know you have more music to come, and I can't wait to see what you do. And again, what you've done, Jeremy, with Brett's band, I mean, I think it's really, you've picked the right things as an engineer. You've been very helpful for him as a writer. And again, that's part of the whole team. When you do that, it's nice to know that, there's still people that are all working together for the same cause, so to speak,
Yeah, man. No, I really appreciate it. No, and it's true. And, I give Brett a ton of credit all the time. Like, and I guess it is the fact that we've worked together as long as we have, that he comes in with a lot of faith in me. Like, and I mean that in the sense that, like, he kind of specifically won't finish lines, not because he thinks I'll finish it, because he thinks I'm about to take his, like, he knows I do a thing that, like, he leaves just enough room for me to twist what's there in a way where he's like, yes, dude, that was the one little rearrange that I was looking for that I couldn't get to, and you literally just like put this sentence here and then said, what if we said it this way instead of that way? And that's the chorus.
The song changes.
Right. And there it is.
Changes everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the way I love to work.
We lost inside the waves. That was one of those moments. Like, that's the song that we did at Catamount, where you just, it was something as simple as we're lost inside the wave, and it lost inside the waves, and it just changed the whole vibe of the song.
Right. Now, when you worked at the studio in where was it, in Iowa?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you listen on the bigs that way, what did you find different when you were listening to the bigs that way through SSL? Did you find that it was more inspiring, or did you think, I'd like to bring that into my studio, or I like my studio better, or did you just think it was a nice change of venue?
It was definitely a nice change of venue, and it was fun, but it was challenging because, like, the bigs are big and they sound awesome, but I don't know, I'm not familiar with that awesome. It's just, you know what I mean? I haven't listened to hours and hours and hours of music and mixed 1,000 things, and I've been for the last year kind of just tweaking the subtleties of my studio, and my buddy Zach, who helped me build this mix room, comes over with his test mic and his software, and we shoot the room and we move shit and put a blanket on the desk, and what if the screen was different, and we're down a dB and a half at 1.5K, and I'm losing fucking sleep over it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, right.
none of it actually matters. But yeah, I'm tweaking away, and I'm, again, it's like you're so used to listening in your environment, it just becomes like the back of your hand or whatever. So I think I'm learning what the low end can and should do on my system and how bright things should be. And it's really difficult in a new control room on monitors that are not familiar to me. It's like I don't bring a set of speakers with me. If I'm going to start doing it more often, I almost should, so I have a little piece of.
Well, yeah, so that at least you have a point. There's, real close to, it's about 60 miles from here, Muscle Shoals, where they did all those, the great records and stuff. And I've done the tour of the studios down there, and man, the truth of the matter is the studios are just a cinder block building, and it was just the magic of what everybody did. Right. And they played the right parts. And I think that the simplicity of ultimately what you're trying to do is you create the air in between. I mean, obviously, this track that we're talking about is not necessarily showing the air in between because we filled every void on it. But there's something about the power, again, of that. We're trying to present a power position by doing it that way, as opposed to the way those records were done, which was really with the space, and the bass was in the same room as a drummer. They were this far away from each other, but it was at a low volume. And it's just amazing that those records sounded like they sounded. Right. And so you can't overemphasize of how this room sounds or that room sounds. It really comes down to the musicians, and the people who know how to capture it.
And you know what, like I still hear a lot of space in this song, and I think that's because of the way the drummer approached it. Like,
well, yeah, he did a great job. The drums are, he's not overplaying it all. He's playing all the right stuff, and that is very important.
Right. Yeah.
I got one request, like if I could, I think might be cool to hear, everybody else.
What's that?
Before we go, it might be cool to hear our vocals together. Without all the music behind it.
Sure.
Like, so
just a lead vocal and me singing behind you.
Yeah. Like, so your fans that are tuning in can hear the vocal part a little bit, just because I think we always talk about how much of a guitar showcase this is. That would be cool to hear. And then for sure, we got to solo up his solo.
Solo the solo. Yeah, man, I'm totally into it. Let's see here. I'm gonna just zoom right ahead to chorus 2. I got all the vocal faders, so it looks like the chorus is, at least this chorus 2 is
pre-chorus. Also, he's got
stuff. We'll show off a couple different sections, but the chorus 2 or the choruses in general are just it looks like a main and a double, both of you guys.
Yeah, look at just a couple vocals and all those guitars.
Yeah, there wasn't room for vocals after all those guitars, man.
Yeah, what's funny is it actually does, where the guitars were, it doesn't get in the way of the vocal, which is very interesting when you think about it. It's not like it's over, we're building such a wall that we can't jump over it with the vocal.
Right. Yeah, it's like you talk about space, and it's a fun challenge for me. It's like, there is a lot of guitars on the Fuzzrd stuff. There is a lot of saturation and gain. And they're drop tuned, so that's like a lot of things to kind of fight the mix, and to be able to get everything to happen and still be able to hear. I'm always shooting for the big picture, but I want to hear everything. And like me and Brett talk about it, like even though it's a big rock sound and there's all this shit coming in and going, like the analogy we always say is like, but like when the verse comes or when the vocal comes, I want to be able to walk in and look around a little bit and not just be like everything just beating me in the forehead the whole time, and I just want to kind of cover my eyes or whatever. It's like, you got to open it up. I got to listen to the singer. If there's a vocal on the track, that's the most important thing, like sweet riff or not,
Right. And the drums, what he's doing is also, you filled it up in the ambience of the drums after every snare hit, and the vocal is just nicely in there. I mean, in other words, you feel it, but it's not, it doesn't take over the vocal, but it really puts you in that room.
And like you said, he's not playing a million hits, so you get a nice clean backbeat, so you can have a little reverb tail and you can hear it because there's not something else coming in right after it, and then everyone's playing all the time. But anyway, chorus soloed up, both of you guys together.
When you're standing next to me, I don't know what to say. Wipe your tears, let's feed our desperation. Come and hold me closer, not just like a friend. Tell me that you're lonely and you're wasted.
Barbershop.
The standard harmony.
Right. Right. It was funny. Like, we're mixing this thing, and Brett's like, hey, man, maybe turn up Mark's vocals a little more. Like, I want people to know it's Mark singing. And I'm like, dude, I get it. And believe me, I'm not trying to turn him down, but like, Mark sang a background vocal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't,
That's right. That's
can't
it.
put him
That's
up
it.
over or whatever. Like, he's not singing a lead part or whatever. So we kind of got to
No.
put him where a background vocal should go, you know?
That's right,
And
as it should be.
Right. I don't think you would want to be the loudest vocal as the guy singing.
No.
a
No.
harmony. Right.
I mean, it's Fuzzrd. It's not,
Right.
it's not me.
Right. It's not slaughtered.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I thought it was funny. Here you guys are in the pre-chorus.
Bite the apple from the tree, all your sins away.
Right. You kind of hit the low, like
Singing
kind of a low.
and I'm singing an octave below
Right.
him.
Right. Singing a low harmony kind of just to give that a little depth and kind of. I love, too, me and Brett talk about it all the time. It's like we get a lot of great ideas, but stacking up his voice isn't the same as two great singers with two different tones that help each other but aren't the same, so they spread out more. And
Right. Yeah,
hear a
that
little
changes the
more
whole
different.
dynamic. It
Right.
does.
And you can hear the chorus hit harder than if it was just Brett singing those exact same notes, because it would just be his
Yeah.
timbre. And
Well, again, it's like using, like, per our conversation earlier, it's just another Les Paul and a Les Paul and a Les Paul. They add the telly, and then there's the
Right.
blend. You know,
Exactly.
you're adding a different tonality.
right, that's exactly, yep, same thing. Right, just gotta be able to separate the two. I love, like, we're talking about the Beatles earlier. Lennon said, like, yeah, I used to like turn my B string just a little bit flat because all this stuff would be in mono. So it's not like I'm on. This is before I'm on the left and he's on the right. He's like, so I turn my B string flat so I could know which one was me. You know, it's like, wow.
That's why I'm always flat.
Yeah, that's why Joe does it too, right? That's why he's always out of tune.
Right.
So we always know which one's you, Joe.
That's right.
And then, yeah, like Brett said, I mean, Mark did some ripping on the end of the tune. Where is it? I think I got to find it. I think it's right here. Is it? Yeah, maybe it's that one. Let's check.
Yeah, Jeff Beck straight out, like Jeff Beck, Shanker. It's so badass, like that band.
It's fun, man.
Yeah.
That's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
Well,
Well, man,
I-
I'll tell you, it's been a pleasure to work with you guys on this track and to, kind of dig into it a little bit. I mean, I can gear talk all day long. It's certainly my love, and I'm sure we'll share a lot of things off this camera of things that we really dig. But
yeah, man.
again, I think the key point
some
is
more.
for anybody who's watching this is if you love making music, then make music and find the people that you dance with well, and there are no rules anymore. I mean, you could just do as much as you want. It's just doing it,
Right. Right. Well, man, I can't thank you enough for being available to us. And, I know you and Brett talk a lot. Now that Brett's got your number, I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
you'll regret all of these decisions you've made by hanging out with us slowly but surely. But no, it's awesome. I mean, it's been awesome. It's been great to get all these layers and just, and really do the thing. Like, it was just cool to, like, like I said, we were hoping for a background vocal, and not only were you nice enough to be like, yeah, man, here's a background, and and there you go. Like, you got into it and talked to these guys, and
Yeah.
what about this? And I would, if you guys are interested, I kind of hear a keyboard thing, but I don't want to step on toes, or we're like, no, man, send it up. We fucking we
Yeah.
love it, So Because
That's great.
This is what we do, man, and it's
Yeah, absolutely. It's a key
fun.
point with it. And again, we're always trying to get a better sound, but I mean, obviously, you've got a good handle on it already. And, again, it's nice to step into something that's already a well-oiled machine, so to speak. And, it makes it easy for me to do what I do. And nice to be more of the right brain instead of the guy who's thinking about it too much for once,
Right. Well, yeah, man. Any final words, Brett? Anything you want to say while you're on the show? What's up with Fuzzrd? What's the next plan? Are you promoting anything right now? New video in the works?
You know what I want to do? I want to just take 1 minute to do that one thing you hate doing. I want to tell everybody that's watching this show to go to noisebelow.live and smash that like button.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
represented.
Thanks, Brett. Check's in the mail, man. I'll get that. I'll get you that check immediately. Dunbar will mail it on his way out of here tonight.
So I think this is such a great show, even though I'm on the show.
This is your favorite episode, isn't it?
Thank you to both of you guys for helping me, make my art sound this way. Our whole band really appreciates it.
Couldn't have done it without you, Brett.
Yeah, man.
No, I mean, yeah, but the other guys
and me, mostly me.
What? Yeah, sorry. So for Fuzzrd, it's kind of the same plan. We're going to continue to release singles every 4 to 6 weeks, right around that mark. We've got a couple. We've got another song planned that's coming out. We actually have a couple shows lined up.
Beautiful.
For later this summer. I'm not ready to announce them yet, but we're super excited about that, which is kind of cool. Like 2020 was a really weird year for all sorts of reasons, but in a weird sort of way for me, it was one of the best years of my life. To be able to spend time with family so much, work with great people like you guys, and build this new band. Like it never would have happened if we didn't have some of those opportunities. So,
it's true. Yeah, I wouldn't have met Eric, etc. Exactly.
So,
Right. Yeah, well, it's what you make of it, and you decided to not mope around your house and launch a thing and get to work and take advantage of having time to do something. It's cool, man. It takes a lot of motivation, and it's cool to see. I mean, I've watched you guys literally from day one, obviously, and it's cool to see all the work that's gone in so far, and how it's already starting to return. And you don't even have an album out yet, and you are a brand new thing. It's awesome. It's awesome to watch it built right, and then watch it go out on the road and drive, and do the thing.
Starts in the music and the recordings up. So you guys have done a good job,
right?
Big time.
And what about you, Mark? What do you got going as summer fires up and the world's turning back on? What are you looking
Lots
forward
of shows,
to?
lots of shows. Yeah, we got a lot of shows coming up. One of them, we're doing lake jams up in your neck of the woods, and
I think
then we're going to be playing in
Freedom
Brett? Fest in Colorado, huh?
Oh, sorry. I think me and Brett are talking about going up to that one. That's the one that's not terribly far.
It's going to be really cool. So we have that going on, lots of shows. I've got some recordings still with Mark Farner he's got shows too. So we're trying to find time in between, and, it's just be musical and be out there. And ultimately we're entertainers, and it's going to be nice to be out there and hopefully make some people smile again.
Can't wait.
That's what we love to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't wait. Well, awesome. Yeah, I don't know. Thanks again, man. Awesome song. Thanks for coming on the stream and hanging out. Great to get to meet you and talk to you a little more, Mark. It's, we got to work together on the track, but we didn't get to hang like this. So
yeah, man, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely talk more gear and et cetera down the line, and we'll share each other's secrets on that, and we'll keep moving forward.
Yeah, man. I like it.
keep it tight.
All right, fellas. What did you say, Brett? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Tight? Yeah.
You don't get to end the show, man. Well, awesome, dudes. I'll let you guys go. Thanks again for jumping in. Great episode. Great hang. Great
Thank
chat.
you. Yeah, nice hang, man, for sure. And everybody get out there and listen to your music and get lost in it, because that's what makes the world go round right there, no doubt.
Right on. Well, until next time,
Thanks, fellas.
we'll say goodbye to Mark and
Thank
Brett.
you.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Awesome. Fun to have Brett back on the show. He's kind of maybe the first. Is he the first
repeat guest.
Yeah.
That's a landmark.
Yeah.
What an
Milestone.
honor.
Yeah, man. And then first time having Mark on the show. Mark's an awesome dude, class act, great guitar player, singer, great hang. Just he's one of the real dudes. You never know. It's like Eric meets a guy, and you're like, oh yeah, you just never know how this stuff's gonna be. I've been lucky enough over the years to meet a lot of musicians, and some of them are as cool as you could hope for, and some of them are not. Mark is super cool. We're lucky to meet those kind of guys and work with those kind of guys. And I know, those are the only kind of guys we do work with.
Right.
The dudes that are dicks, it's like, oh yeah, I met him. Oh, how was he? He was a dick.
Yep. There's a lot of guys that have been doing it that long that are so jaded and they don't enjoy it anymore.
All you guys do on this show is talk shit about Lars. And I
Yeah,
can't.
so we're talking to you,
I'm
Lars.
talking about Joe.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
You want to
right,
talk jaded? Here we go.
Right.
Dunbar.
Well, no, man, it's like I said. I mean, we, the people that are still around, the people that are still creating, are the people that always loved it and loved it for the right reasons, and they still love it. And I'm always happy to meet what I guess I consider fellow lifers. There's a lot of dudes out there who just aren't, and when you do, you feel like it's like we weren't in the same whatever. We weren't in the same army, but we're in the same war or something. And you kind of, I don't know, you recognize that thing in each other. So it's always nice to link up with new people and do the thing, make music, and make friends.
Yeah.
Speaking of friends, we had a lot of new ones tonight.
Yeah, right. We did. A lot of people. Sorry, I really didn't monitor the chat. The chat was flowing really well. A ton of people were asking questions, but sometimes it makes sense to dig in, and sometimes me and Brett and Mark and the guys are talking, and that's just the flow of things. So feel free to email questions or whatever you have, specific questions about mixed stuff or any nerdery. We'll try to answer anything we can, but I don't like to always break the flow of the conversation. Like I said, this is a long form thing, and we kind of run it how we run it, and it is what it is because it's our show, not yours. Remember that. But I don't know, anything else before we sign off this week? You guys good?
Yeah, man. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks to Mark.
Good
Thanks
times.
to Brett.
No, we got no real anything to tell them about next week yet, right? We're playing it by ear. Probably no guest next week. We'll dig into something. We'll dig into something special.
It's time to do a mix.
Yeah.
I've run through a tune.
It is time to do a mix. We've been mixing a lot of stuff lately. We've been mixing some reggae lately, which is really interesting because, as a dude who mixes mostly rock, I deal with a lot of guitars all day and how to work drums and shit around guitars. But in reggae, there's one guitar going bing, 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 bing. So he's not really.
That's my guitar.
He's not. Yeah, right. He's not really in the way, So it's all about bass and drums and cool effects, cool vocal delays and reverbs. I don't know. It's just fun to diversify my mind. Yeah, I don't know. So we're doing the thing. Great show tonight. Thanks for joining us. For the new people, welcome. For the people that hang out all the time, thanks for hanging out yet again. We'll be back next Tuesday with another enthralling and exciting edge of the seat, episode about record making. I'll be sitting on the rear edge. But yeah, anyway, thanks again to the guys for hanging out tonight. Fun episode. Like I say every week. Should I tell them, Joe, or do you want to tell them?
No, you should probably
told them in a
you
while.
should let the new people know how we do it around here and what we do to wrap up the show.
Well, in any session, in any situation, most important and above and beyond anything else, what you need to do is always keep it tight.